vulnerable the actual U.S. electric grid is, what kind of plans are in place for remediation or recovery in the event of an attack, what the situation is all about. And my initial impressions were, this guy's a TV guy. What could he possibly know? But the speech was very interesting. And what could he possibly know? He learned from people he knew in government who were in a position to actually provide
because he had a lot of good sources.
Yeah,
and he's a journalist.
He's well known, and then he spent 2.5 years putting this book together, so it's very well researched. This comes back to the Ukrainian power out. He was taking a look at, okay, what happens if it happens here and it stays out?
Yeah, because we have plans to get it back. I had a security expert. He was the commanding officer for the NYPD that was in charge of not terror attacks, but stuff like this, natural disasters. What happens when the electric grid? So when the electric grid went out on the East Coast and in New York, he was in charge of dealing with that crisis.
Right.
And he talked about it and, the issues around it. And I'm sure this was much like what Ted Koppel was talking about.
Yep.
And probably with a group of security experts, he went into it even more deep.
Yeah. And the problem with the U.S. Power grid is that there are about 3,200 companies that contribute to the grid. The big ones have all the security that you would expect a big corporate business in any sector to have. But the issue is that all these little rural cooperatives and small municipal or small regional power companies, they don't have the staff, the knowledge, the financial wherewithal to really, really harden their networks the way that they're supposed to be. And Ted's point is like, what happens if they come in on a weak side and then navigate through because the power control infrastructure is shared by all power companies.
So basically you can get in from a smaller,
right,
unprotected group and then go and infect the entire grid.
Yep. And the point that he was putting out in the book is that there are certain aspects of the physical distribution system that are very vulnerable because they can't be replaced. And these are the very, very large step up and step down transformers that you see, in these big fence enclosed yards where power distribution happens. Most of these transformers are custom built for this spot only. Spares, if they exist at all, are very, very limited. There may not be an exact match spare for the unit that fails, and building one can take a year or more.
Well, could you, like they did with the nuclear power plants in Iran, could they overheat or short the system out and pretty much destroy all those components?
Yeah, the way that the electric power system works is that you've got power creation, generation on the power plant side, and then you've got consumption on the consumer side. This value needs to be balanced. In other words, they only need to be making as much electricity as is actually being consumed at the moment. And so there's a lot of, control systems that are in there to make sure that happens. If you were able to build a Stuxnet-like exploit that told a generating plant to create more power when there wasn't a need for it, this stuff goes out onto the grid and it's not being consumed, it's not being used, it's not being stored, and it can cause the actual distribution cables to get hot and melt. It can cause power transformers to overheat and explode.
So if they did that in mass, they could just they could destroy the components.
Yeah.
And then how long would it take to build that?
Exactly. And if they did it a certain few key places located, and if you just took out maybe half a dozen or 10, you could really turn the lights off all over the place and keep them off for a long, long time. And then
What's a long time?
Weeks, months. And the thing is that without electricity, well, then you have problems with the water supply, because water, of course, is electrically pumped into those big water towers we have all over the place. And when those water towers empty out, that's it. no more water for people who are depending on it. Without water, you can't flush your toilets. So now we have a sewage and human waste issue that will get really, really nasty in a big hot hurry if it's like Manhattan.
Oh, they'd be off.
Okay, so I got my stuff in a bucket. Now where?
Yeah, because at least here where I am, I'm on 11 acres of woods.
Yeah,
I could
we
go in a hole.
Sneak at, yeah. And you see, and I'm kind of going, got a cabin in Wisconsin, and there's a river flowing by it, so I got water. And well, I'm not going to say sewer because I'm not going to be tossing my stuff in the river, but I've got woods that I could set up an outhouse. But that's the thing. You can't have 12 or 14 million people digging holes in the street in order to, it's just, it would get nasty. And they talked about things like evacuation. Okay, so we're just going to evacuate everybody. No, that's not going to work. And then it was kind of like, well, what about feeding people? Well, you talked with somebody at in the military who said, oh, we've got 23 kajillion meals ready to eat, ready to go here. We could just get them all to New York or whatever. Well, it turns out, it's about 3 days worth of eating, and then we're out of that.
We need to take a short break, and we will be back in a few moments.
What is a brilliant culture? And how do we create them? Why are they important? Claudette Rowley has created a breakthrough 5-step process to help you design a culture that is authentic, innovative, and successful. Learn how to create change with Cultural Brilliance Radio, the DNA of organizational excellence, and Claudette Rowley. To learn more or work with Claudette, visit ClaudetteRowley.com.
There are so many resources out there for meditation. But did you know that Atana's Heart Earth Healing Meditation is available for you for free? Yes, that's right. You can receive this free healing meditation today from Atana Vadili. All you need to do is visit his website, atanamethod.com. That's ATAANA method.com and sign up. You will receive your free meditation instantly. That's atanamethod.com.
Get into it for 2016. Do you want more prosperity, clarity, energy, and balance in your life? Join Lynn Brown now for one of her amazing workshops, each focusing on a key part of living your best life. For more information and to register for one of these amazing workshops, visit lynnbrownevent.com. That's lynnbrownevent.com. And get into it this 2016 with Lynn Brown.
Hey everyone, this is Dr. Pat. I am so thrilled. I've had the honor of working with Leslie Fontaine for the past year or so. And what she has created in her hit program, Sheer Alchemy, transcends what most of us get to listen to or hear in any point in time in our lives. But beyond that, Leslie is working with people all over the world, and she has created something phenomenal based on the feedback and input from the archangels, from the ascended masters, from the light beings, and most importantly, from each and every one of you. So if you want to change your life, if you're ready to step into your own version of sheer alchemy, please give Leslie a call at 678-665-3366. And why? Because this is what you're going to be prepared to do. Be amazed, and on your part, connect with the ascended masters that are there to help you custom make the life that you are meant to live.
A word of caution: if you prefer the status quo and you are not interested in improving every aspect of your life, this book will trigger the shift out of you. The Truth is Funny, Shift Happens is available now. Author Colette Steffen brings the powerful knowledge and life-changing energy and empowerment from the radio airwaves to the pages of her new book. To get your copy in paperback or ebook, visit thetruthisfunny.com today.
And we are back. I'm Sarah Westall, and we've been talking with Bob Weiss. He's our resident cybersecurity expert and our ethical hacker. He works for CIT Data Security. You can get his contact information on my website at sarahwestall.com. If you have not looked into your own security at your company, I really recommend you talking to him because it is a very serious issue. And I also want to remind you that you can get any of my episodes at sarahwestall.com. And there also is a lot of data and information that accompany each episode. I do different articles on each one. So you can have facts and information that accompany each one, as well as guest contact information. I want to also tell you that my show plays on WBLQ in New York, Rhode Island, and Connecticut, and it streams live on Transformation Talk Radio on Mondays at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Also will play 7 days a week on Transformation Talk Radio and is available on podcasts on over 90-plus digital channels, so all of your favorite podcast channels, as well as on my website at sarahwestall.com, where you can also sign up to get the podcast feed there as well, or sign up for my newsletter. I send out updates and so forth on the different shows that I have going on. So let's now get back to Bob Weiss. So then what happens? What was the outcome of that? I mean, it's chaos.
It's chaos, yeah. I mean, you're going to get people who are going to begin to prey on their neighbors to take their stuff, because it's like, well, if it's you or me, it's going to be me. And
well, I don't think so. If it's you or me,
yeah. I mean, it's
I might win that fight.
Yeah. Well, not literally you or me. But,
I know.
But things could get really, really nasty. Then there was a really fascinating chapter on the Mormon Church. Turns out that the Mormons have a warehousing and distribution system that rivals Walmart in size and scope.
Wow, okay.
So if this is a genuine concern for you, converting to Mormonism would be actually kind of a play.
They keep you okay?
Because they've got it all worked out. It's kind of like, well, backup generator. Okay, so I got a backup generator and blah.
Well, a lot of countries are off the grid. Because they were so far behind. A lot of like China and some countries in Africa, they're just setting up with solar right off the bat.
Right. Yep.
So they don't have the same issues that we have here.
Yeah, and what was one of the more disturbing parts is that cybersecurity investigators have pretty much detected and proven that both the Russians and the Chinese already have exploits deployed in our grid. And we can assume that we have done the same. And he talks about, okay, so with the Chinese and with the Russians and with us, there's a lot of interlocking economic activity. And so there's no real good incentive for them to do that to us unless that we were pushing them back against the wall ourselves. Okay.
Well, so it's more the small groups that we're worried about.
You work your way down to the Iranians and the Syrians,
or some small group where we've killed their relatives.
North Korea, which is a wild in the streets kind of a rogue nation that they are, in fact, led by a guy who might be capable of anything. But then what about, groups like Daesh, what they're commonly referred to as ISIS, or Al-Qaeda, which is in fact making big strides to return to the stage of, Islamic terrorism. If they were to develop, which is unlikely, or purchase, which is very possible, the wherewithal, the resources necessary to stage an attack like this, well, they have absolutely nothing to lose. They have no interlocking economic interests with the West, and turning off the lights in Rome or London or Paris or New York or the Eastern Seaboard or whatever, that would just be a colossal up yours.
Same with some South American countries, down there. Well, that gets me back to 0 days. Apparently it was backed by a group of anonymous NSA employees.
Yeah.
Who are the cybersecurity experts there, who want it to become a national conversation. And they actually fed the information, but they did it anonymously so that they wouldn't be the Snowden and get, hung out to dry. Yep. Now, do you think it's true or just propaganda, or what do you think? What do you think about that?
Based on what I know about the business in general, I think this is a real concern. I think that do believe that the next war will be electronic. And even now, current warfare, there's so much fly-by-wire, like drone and stuff like that. And it's kind of like, well, is that computer? Is that cyber? Well, parts of it is. I mean, the communication piece.
But think of this. With satellites, they know where everything's at.
Yep.
from a geo, mapped out. They know where people are on the grid. They know where all the facilities are for a country that's important. They can get it mapped out, automate the drones, and take out all the important